my opinion. But looks like we're just about to go into our next game here, as we're hearing the starting sounds, the sheep getting gathered up by the scouts, and we do see Beasty in the color yellow playing as the English, opening up with the barracks in the Dark Age.
Ooh, but I'm curious. After that, like, do you think you have the bandwidth to pull a few villages with a men-at-arms opening, or do you just have to commit to the men-at-arms on their own and keep all the villagers home?
I mean, the thing is that the men-at-arms potentially might not be doing a whole lot here for Beasty, because the thing that China always has access to is infinite resources with, like, constant drop-off with the tax that you get from dropping off resources. So gold, not necessarily something that B really needs here in this game, and I mean, this could be really bad. I mean, if B realizes it, it's a definite strategy where you can just constantly drop off resources when your villagers are only carrying a single resource of food, for example.
Yeah.
You still generate an entire gold worth of tax in your mill. So it's definitely worth it if you're getting pressured by early Dark Age men-at-arms, as B should probably see that. I think he spotted for a moment. Still looks to be going up for that mining camp, though.
This is the problem, though, right? Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's not just the fact that he doesn't need to go on gold, like you said. It's like this, we've seen it historically for French as well. Like, there's not a more annoying civ to try and do heavily armored unit play early on against because of those hand cannon slits that we just heard.
Exactly. I mean, the men-at-arm only has to dip into its range once and already takes a lot of heavy damage. But Beasty, I mean, looking at it right now, where's the scout from B? How many sheep does he have? Because it looked like B did not have a great game here early on when it comes to the sheep count. Now men-at-arm might also just be able to find that sheep, and yeah, it's gonna go straight for it.
Beat his ass. Get it. No, look away. Hide it in the trees. We don't endorse animal abuse here. No. Don't look at that way. What you do? Great. Now we're gonna get a call from Peter.
Peter.
Peter? Is it Peter or Peter? Do I say it wrong? Is it Peter or Peter?
I mean,
Peter sounds like, it almost sounds like someone from Boston calling like the nephew. Peter. You know?
Kind of sounds like Peter just from Family Guy, for example, as well. I always have to think about
True.
the Peter, the horse is here. Always have to think of that whenever I hear that.
You're right, actually. I guess I did sound more like Lois, though. New ability I didn't know I had. But
we're seeing the tax. We're seeing the tax
Yes.
being used here. So a lot of forced drop-offs happening. Means that B is going to have the resource he needs, and now he can just drop a Barbican wherever he pleases and secure. Never mind, he's going for the Imperial Academy. Also works. It's going to further increase the tax that you're getting.
Yeah, exactly. Come, like, you get it, right, Crack? You're like, oh no, I can't get gold. We need more taxmen. Our people can't afford bread each night, but we can at least tax them on their theoretical earnings.
Just buy a house, man.
I mean, there's plenty of them to buy in China right now, so you're right. Just buy a house, guys. Come on.
For the cheap price of whatever $1 is in yuan.
You know, like in China, they don't actually buy houses. They rent them from the government for, I think it's 100 years.
I've never understood that system, really, to be fair. Like who dictates the price? But this is not the channel for Chinese real estate economics right now.
Well, it is, because if you look, China has a wide area to still expand to. But right now, similarly to historically, they're being threatened by the filthy English colonists who are looking to start an opium war filled with men-at-arms and lombos on the way soon. There you go. We brought background.
This definitely makes sense. I mean, as the English, this is your timing. H2 is where you want to hit the Chinese player hard, and you definitely have the tools for the job. You have the men-at-arms, you have the longbows, and men-at-arms, if the feudal age gets longer and longer, they're going to do a really banging job against units like the Jugunu. Now, sure, Jugunu, they still are able to do 3 damage to these men-at-arms, but men-at-arms, at least when you compare them to knights, they're relatively cheap. It's 120 resource compared to 240. So it's definitely a cheaper unit to invest to than, for example, what the French have access to with their knights. Now B, he is opting for a stable, so gonna be seeing potentially just a couple of horsemen out here, just in order to deal with the first couple of longbowmen coming out from Beasty, and that one really annoying men-at-arms right now that's once again denied him his gold access. But I'm a little bit fearful right now for B, I must say, because it's almost 5 minutes and he hasn't started building the Barbican yet. And it looks like he's not aiming to do it anytime soon either.
No, and that just makes it easy for the lombos to bob and weave in as they go. And the interesting thing as well is because B went for the stables as an opener, BC gets to maintain value in his early racks investment by switching into spears.
Wondering if B might potentially not even be thinking about Song Dynasty here. He's making archers and horsemen right now as the Chinese. Now, with China, he did go for the Imperial Academy. Means that he's still gonna be economically ahead of the English here in this game.
Yes, but of course the English, like, they have premium kind of attack power, right? Like, you can't even try to go Archer into Chuge new comp as time goes on until you get to that Barbican. And B is still very reluctant, I want to say. I mean, at the current rates on the gold, he'll have that box ticked in the next minute and a half at least. But will you have the food? Will you be able to afford that? Because I feel like you're going to have to put everything now into defending against the incoming Lombos.
Sometimes we see China players not even going for Song. It can happen when they go for like a really, really fast castle age with the Imperial Academy. Thing is to always remember, there are certain buildings that are locked behind your dynasty. So for example, the granary is actually locked behind Song Dynasty. So if you don't go for Song Dynasty, you're never going to be able to make that huge, really, really strong food transition with those granaries.
That's thinking quite far in the future. Judging by how some of these games are going, I don't know if we'll be able to get that deep for the Chinese. But I think that's where they'll have to pray, right? If you're playing this feudal slog, quite often English have been looking like number one. Although occasionally we do see the rise of the Chinese Empire on the back of those Chuge Nu masses.
True. I mean, Junuke, they're a pretty good unit that exists in the game. They can get a lot of value in with that repeater crossbow action. Looks like Beasty has retreated himself back into space. He's getting some eco upgrades. He's starting to make some farms, just prepping himself for the later stages of the game. But now it looks like B, without even Song Dynasty, could be looking for that second TC, as we already see the silhouette of that mining camp on that stone mine.
Interesting choice here. I wonder if this is basically because of what he just discovered with the scout, right? Like, obviously he was already walking over there, but he commits to it because now Beasty isn't posing any threat. So in theory, before you might feel like you need a Barbican to feel safe, now you feel like you can get away with a bit more greed.
Is this maybe a little bit of a bait? Does
I think so.
Beasty maybe assume that B is going to be on a Barbican right now? Because usually you only go for that second TC after your Barbican has been placed and you got that Song Dynasty. So this might potentially just be a little bit of a bait and switch here from B. I mean, it makes sense to go for the second TC first in theory, because what does Song Dynasty give you immediately? Villagers only going to take 15 seconds to create. Second TC is going to be a bit more efficient than that. You're going to be making way more villagers with second TC compared to Song Dynasty 1 TC.
Absolutely. Well, these horsemen, they were scouted out marching past, so Beasty should have been aware they were on the way. But he's too busy making a butchering. Moves in on the villagers, on the wood line, able to take one out to open up here. Lombos will be forced to back off here. Just one of these horsemen can be a bit of a nuisance. The archer mass from B is decent enough that it should be able to trade out.
Horsemen are coming back now from the backside, and Beasty's army could get caught here. As the horsemen are now approaching those lumbermen, this could be a cleanup here now for Beasty's army.
There's a premium units as well. Lombos, they cost more than these archers they've been trading with, so that's going to be a stinger. Beasty, the problem now, with his type of position, after he loses this army, he hasn't been escalating for a second TC. He's nowhere near Castle Age. He's definitely going to need to reinvest militarily, and that should buy B the vital time to play into that second TC. He's even got way too much stone to go do so.
I would say this much. That was such a weird way to play China. B is on 500 stone right now, and I mean, it worked. I don't know how, but it worked, and it worked well here. The cleanup happened, and right now, destruction value firmly in the hands of B right now. He's leading by 1450 compared to 690 destruction value. Killed a lot of units, and now has map control behind this.
Oh boy, this is problematic. The horsemen are going to maintain that map control as well. And with BC not having a staging point anymore, playing a static comp out, like, you just feel so cumbersome, so slow to wherever you need to go. Now B, of course, I don't know if it's going to do anything with that extra stone. I imagine it's going to be a 2 TC into Castle Age, and he definitely has the momentum on his side to get away with that with little to no risk.
And now B has the resources for that second TC. And soon he's going to also have the resources for Barbican, so that 2 TC song timing could be coming in soon, and he can secure himself a lot of resources as he's now free to choose where to drop these buildings with the map control that he's gained.
Lord. And where will he drop it? Well, he wants to get all the game he can in a game like this. It's not just going to be the deer. It's the easy pull on the boar as well. This is going to sustain him on the food count to the point that he can escalate this horseman mass.
Yeah, and potentially also gives him a really, really great avenue into Castle Age here behind all of that greed. could just go for some nice little walls here in order to secure that gold that is now going to be nestled in between two TC somewhat. So it's going to be hard for Beasty to really take any engagements on that gold or deny any gold. And yeah, the position from B right now. Now, sure, Beasty has managed to reinvest into his army. He's got a good count right now. B even losing his scouts, so no more vision here for B right now. And Beasty's got a really good army right now, so I'm not sure if he's going to be able to find value. But army-wise, he's definitely looking good right now.
You know, we were talking about how kind of unorthodox the approach B took in this early game was. I think that, by the way, was another key part of it. We have to remember that by staying in Tang Dynasty this long, he's had that superior scouting vision on a map, in a matchup in the way it's been played, where vision is king. We saw it actually, the opening from this game, both players were spot on with the way they were mobilizing their scout to snoop out forces moving. I wonder if that was part of the reason why B hung around so long in the Tang Dynasty, is to have that edge looking into these stealth forests.
Looks like Beasty's now decided to go for a little bit of a push and shove here, as he's going forward with his army, even sending a villager forward to build an outpost. So that's going to be his approach. He wants to attack B from the east flank here. And that is definitely going to be the best avenue, I feel like, for Beasty to attack from. Potentially could go under the wood line. And, I mean, for a lot of civilizations, no wood means game over if there's just not enough production. Because what can B do against the army right now? He can make more archers. And archers are really, really wood heavy. Unless he goes for, like, a castle age play, he's not going to have, like, access to units to really deal with what Beasty has that don't cost wood.
And, you know, he can try to buy some time by maybe layering small palisade walls near the primary wood line, so he can't easily go around. But as we can see, as is typical, and B gave a taste of this when they were on the other foot, right? English versus Chinese. It's very natural for the English to get into rams at this stage. They will not be denied. Those Lombos most definitely are the premium units here. The extra range, sure, they cost 10 extra. That's where it hurts your pocket a bit, especially as the English who don't have a superior gathering rate on wood. But it's much easier to keep them alive compared to what B has.
It's going to be a really, really tough push to defend. Now, B is getting an emplacement on that outpost, but I feel like that outpost is probably not going to be alive for a long time. And right now, looking at the upgrades, I mean, B, he's about to get the last ranged upgrade for his ranged units, but that push is going to be happening, and B is going to have to fortify his base here now quickly. He's getting out some palisade walls, but do note that both villages are in that direction that BC is going to be pushing from, and getting 2 villages tonight, that's a lot of population space that you have to rebuild. Oh, that's a lot of outposts.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, he had a little bit of excess stone to work with. Not that much, though. We'll see how it works out for him. But with the double ram, I mean, realistically, BC could just target the forward archery range and stables. Right now, it feels like these horsemen are going to be a key component of B's defense. Taxman.
Oh.
Death to taxes.
Taxman. Oh no, that's a lot of dead villagers there. I mean, he's still got a really good villager lead right now, but a lot of idle time right now in the economy here from B, and a lot of dead villagers as well.
Yep. Blacksmith Death doesn't really matter as much here for B, right? Like, he's got most of what he'd need. I don't think he's really that bothered about the melee tech upgrades, but it's still a stinger. It removes an option, and when the archer range is about to go down, stables we target afterwards. There's a wraparound attempt from the horseman in the meantime, but with this many spears, you're just charging into your death. B isn't looking, loses 5 horsemen, and that is a heavy hit to his comp.
That hurts so much right now. He lost a lot of production buildings. He lost the blacksmith. Now he did get the crucial upgrades. Oh no, Taxman again is thinking better of it this time. But village is now going to be under siege here.
Oh,
B has a lot of resource in the bank right now in terms of food, but
he's going to get
is he going to be looking for a transition? Because yeah, as you mentioned, now he's going to be housed. He's going to have to build another village. Immediately loses 40 pop space.
He's blocked. He can't scale right now. He can rush one up. By the time he gets it up, this one might almost be dead. In fact, third ram now coming in. Attack speed aura also being extended. You've built 2 fortified outposts, but against 3 rams, those are not going to last long.
Military number is just such a huge difference right now. 24 to 50 for Beasty, and Lord B, he's really struggling. He's got so many resources in the bank, but just nothing out on the field from right now. It looks like he's transitioning into a lot of Zhuge-Nu and more horsemen. Looks like he's trying to catch off reinforcement, but BC is doing the smart thing. He's grouping them up and sending them in groups.
Well, that did cost him a ram by looks of it, though, right? So that could be costly. He could actually repair it right now, but prioritizes keeping the villager alive because the Zhuge-Nu were pressuring. So this little raid force of B's is out of the base. It's now a case of, does Beasty feel like his army is big enough to just commit further in, or does he need to protect the reinforcing line?
Like, with 2 Rams right now, I feel like he's going to be in a very good location just to push in.
Feels the same way. Looks to take on the world. 2 Rams moving in. He's going to force the Horseman to react, but that many Longbowmen there, it'll feel like you'll get insta-sniped. Look at that. Almost dies in 1 volley. Villagers have to be pulled here to torch through. Rams are wasting a lot of their time, though. The Lombos, with the attack speed aura, are benefiting a lot here. Going to double digits eliminated villagers, and B is feeling that sting.
Yeah, he's still 15 villagers ahead now, but all the idle time, the resource invested into repairing that outpost, he's struggling for wood right now, and he needs a lot of wood if he wants to continue spamming out Horsemen and Jugunu. Now, the army count is starting to rise for B here, and he bought himself a good amount of time for the sacrifice that his villagers had to take there. But still, the army count here from Beasty and the type of units that he has, just these Longbowmen with the aura as well, are going to be able to just put on so much pressure here. Villagers once again getting pulled in order to deal with the Ram, but the Longbowmen are right there. I don't think that B is going to be... It's just too many villager kills right there.
It really is. Now up to 16, so he just lost another 6, so we last saw a raid in. Now, of course, the Lombo line is being killed off a little here. There is kind of a risk, but the problem is because B is so starved in the way he's spreading his resources, the risk is eliminated. Because the risk was going to be to his reinforcement line. But as we see, Beasty has been able to bulk up enough that he's bringing in the secondary force. He's going to be able to replenish those Lombos.
Behind all of this, the farm transition from Beasty is looking also really, really good. He's able to now pump out Men-at-Arms, and Men-at-Arms so tanky in the fuel age. I mean, I'm saying farm transition. It's not a big farm transition. It's 8 farms, but still the food income is there to make them. That counts, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, it's like he has options is the point here, right? I mean, I'm not going to say that he's going to go fast castle and use that 1 village on the front line to drop a white castle, but he's in such a confident position in this game. He can definitely get the resources, and he probably could try for that. But instead, for now, he'll just completely meet up his line. Might even consider castle age for the next 2 or 3 minutes, but for the time being, he needs to address this Chuganu mass that's tickling his reinforcement line.
Yeah, but really, it is only tickling. The Men-at-Arms, they take a long time to take down without that big Chuganu mass that Beast just kind of struggling to put out right now. Still builds more and more, and he is able to distract Beastie's military here right now. Military number now actually looking good for B, but value still in Beastie's hands. And I mean, with the attack speed aura, it's going to be really tough for him to take any good engagements here.
You have to remember that attack speed aura is juicing up those Rams as well. So they get through these outposts a bit quicker. They force you to come to repair faster. Horsemen are going to probe. Chuganu mass isn't looking too bad for B, by the way. It's kind of deceptive. He's got a pincer opportunity here. Look at the numbers. 50 Chuganu in tow. If he strikes from both sides, we could see an absolute catastrophe, a wipe of the English force.
Could be, indeed, but now units are starting to attack each other. Now, there are a lot of Men-at-Arms in here. We can't forget that. Also, Palings have been deployed, so Horsemen can't really dive onto the Longbowman mass here. Still, though, Chuganu numbers still looking healthy.
The numbers are too high. The numbers are too high. BC's losing practically all the Lombos, bar the ones protecting the outposts. His army's been cleaned up. I mean, this Chuganu mass B, he was building towards this the entire time. He had to be patient. He had to take a smack around the face, a backhander here or there, but finally, he's able to get control of his primary wood line. He's able to push Beasty back, and Beasty is now forced to reinvest in his army where he was looking to sneak towards castle.
I am absolutely speechless. That unit positioning, it's usually so hard for the Chuganu to take really good engagements because of the ability from the opponent to kite. Chuganus have the same movement speed as longbows, but longbows with the 2.5 additional range make it really, really hard for the Chuganu to catch up. But the way B played this, surrounding the army completely from both sides, able to take a massively, just a massive engagement here for him, and he just destroyed so many units here from Beasty. Beasty is going to be making a lot of units now again, but behind this, B looks to be going up to Castle Age soon. He has the food, he just needs the gold for it now.
I think this is a great read by B to lean even harder into Chuganu when he saw them in arms. You mentioned that they're very beefy, they take ages to kill, but we have to look at the other side of that. They don't really do anything for half the fight, right? And that was the brilliant thing from B. He just kept escalating casually. He saw these Lombo masses shrinking slowly from each raid, and he fully capitalized on that. And now in a prime position, not only to push in and return the pain to the English, but also potentially crack Castle Age in the next 2 minutes himself.
Exactly, and Beasty is falling back further and further into his base. These outposts are going to be really tough for him to get up, and now we got the critical number able to one-shot these Men-at-Arms.
Good lord.
So many Chuganu on the field right now.
Attack speed
and
aura.
he's pushing it further and further.
Now the Men-at-Arms do get to fight here, so the Chuganu may need to reassess what they want to kill. B will have to step back for the moment. So Beasty, he did get enough Longbowmen back up to defend. But B, we have to remember, he has the breathing room, he has the eco lead. He's over 30 villages up over the English.
I mean, it's really hard for... It's difficult sometimes, because you have to decide when are you going to focus fire with the Shuganu, when aren't you. Now, I'm saying it's difficult. It's not really that difficult at this level that we're playing at right now. But when you're playing against, like, when the men-at-arms push forward, you have to focus fire the men-at-arms in order to take them down. If you spread fire in Y formation at that point, you're barely going to be able to tickle these men-at-arms, and that's when the men-at-arms really, really come to shine here. A lot of emplacements coming up for B now here on that front line. He's really securing his gold that way. Beasty is pushing once again onto the gold.
Chiganu aren't going to back up for the moment. B, what does he really need this goal for at this stage? He's got plenty to work with. He just sorts the food now. The food is really what feels like it's lacking at the moment in the income. I feel like he's just trying to race to get gold before he's forced to inevitably retreat. These outposts, the reliance that B has had on these outposts. I remember the early days of his career when he played Chinese, it was all about Barbican outpost rushes. And even on the defensive, you see how they are key to his gameplay strats.
Outposts can definitely, like, in mass, secure you a lot of potential. And I mean, especially when you're protecting your villagers, right? It turns your 5 villagers into like 5 military units. Suddenly you went from 5 eco units to 5 military units.
Good lord.
When you're scaling your economy with multiple TCs, that can become really, really important. And now we see Beasty once again pushing with the Rams. Behind that, he does have the longbows, but so many Shuganus. Oh my god, the Rams are melting.
They're not Rams anymore. They're just giant wooden porcupines. They're gone. I honestly, like, that's going to be the end of every push you try. And we just saw what's happening back behind in B's base. He's set up the granaries. He's set up the farms. It's only up from here. Beasty is on the clock, and he needs to act fast.
Beasty still took a good fight, but behind this astronomical clock tower is now going to be coming in from B.
That might be GG.
Yeah, it could very well be. I mean, Beasty, he does have a very similar income right now to what B has, even though he's on so way fewer villagers because of all the alt time that he was able to cause every now and then on that gold mine. But if he doesn't take a clear win now in one of these engagements, it's going to be really, really tough for him.
And look at the absurd tech up time. It's like no time at all for B to get up. Castle Age begins, and Beasty, you could see he knew this was happening because the Chiganu mass wasn't reinforcing. He tried to do something about it, but that triple fortified outpost is absolutely vile. He has to fall back, and now in a situation where he needs to scurry all the food together to catch up himself, and he probably won't have an eco advantage. I imagine he's going to be forced to drop a white tower at the fort of his base.
I mean, King's Palace, it's such a good landmark. Like, you really want it. But in this situation, as you said, you just can't. Because the danger is just there that if you go for the King's Palace, you might just get rolled over by your opponent.
I mean, you could go... There's many things you can do in life, Crackedy. But yes, you shouldn't, is what I'm likely to say. But BC, of course, probably might be like, shut up, KP, you're a pleb, I'm going to do it anyway. But I agree. It's hard to see a world in which you don't receive the ultimate punishment because, B, he could be prepping a line of Palace Guard spam behind this that could arrive in your base and you'd have no fortified defenses to protect yourself with.
Yes, you can put your hand inside of the mixer, but should you? But it looks like Beasty, he's going for it. He has got steel gloves on and he's willing to put his hand in. 21 villagers on that King's Palace.
He's like, it's all right, I'm an expert. Now, the question is whether this is just sticking your hand in the blender and not being punished, or if you decided for some reason to eat crap. We're going to find out very quick in this one, though. B, he did take a slower approach here, still Chuganu and actually going into cavalry. So Beasty may actually get away with this.
Yeah, I mean, he could definitely get away with this right now. It's not looking too bad for him, but behind this, I mean, B has managed to get the full granary transition in, while Beasty only just now finally started making a lot of these farms, a lot of, like that big farm switch, and we can see it in the income right now. He's sitting at over 2,000 food per minute right now.
He has 50 farms at the back of his base around granaries. 50. And he hasn't even got the level 2 food upgrade yet, Crackedy. Like, he could afford to push a lot more units than what he currently is.
Yeah, I mean, the food upgrade definitely does make a big difference. It's like, you go from plus 15% with the first one to plus 30. Imagine that right now he could be at like almost 2.8k food per minute.
So you're saying he could be at Imperial Age in the next minute? I mean, he really could.
Something like that.
It's kind of absurd.
Fight being taken a little bit early here before the armor-clad upgrade finishes means that these men still took a little bit bonus damage, but behind that, B also opting in for some crossbows now. And I always talk about this. It's so difficult to discern what is a crossbow, what is a Jugunu. They look almost identical.
Yes, but the output of damage on a poor little men-at-arms will be drastically different, of course, due to the bonus heavy damage. It's such a frustration. It's something that I know a lot of us have pleaded Relic to change at some bloody point, but yet still we are waiting.
Beasty's doing a good job of distracting B here right now with a couple of raids. Just 2 men-at-arms causing a lot of the units here from B to completely walk into one direction. Wall is going to be able to complete. B isn't paying attention right now, so...
Oh, no. No.
That wall should not have gone up, but it did.
That opening would have been pure gold for him. B's going to be slowed down. And keep in mind, right, Beasty hasn't revealed what landmark he went for, right? I believe B hasn't had info in the base since that tech-up point. So he might assume it's a white tower. He might assume that he's keeping a phenomenal eco lead. And while it does look fantastic, Beasty's going to catch up quicker than maybe B expects due to that King's Palace choice, which I think was genius by Beasty, now that I think about it, right? Like, we said white tower needs to happen, and it feels like it's the right choice. But I guess the argument is, if you're that far behind, if you feel that far behind...
It's the only chance to come back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my god, the food bank from B right now.
He's gonna save. He's gonna save all the poor children in the world. He's gonna solve world hunger. Good lord.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Lots of food in the bank right now. I can definitely see like an Imperial Age and then suddenly just Palace Guard spam. That could just be the game ender, right? Like,
yeah.
what's Beasty gonna do against Palace Guard spam?
Well, I think that's what he's been missing, right? And I think we're prepping for it. You see that military academy is being prepped. That's usually the signs of a big switch. You're not looking at night mass anymore because it's too slow. In fact, I wonder if he's building a line of racks somewhere to prep for that. Maybe even up to 10 of them. Look how much food he's still got.
Look at that, 26 villagers. How fast is that Spirit Way gonna go up? I don't think all 26 are building it yet. I think right about now it's going so fast.
I mean, that's assisted by the spirits of their ancestors right now with build speed like that. That's insane. And that's going to make the Chuginu overwhelmingly powerful. Not just the damage increase, but now also the healing and attack speed buff when one of them dies like this.
And another thing the Spirit Way does is that it also reduces the cost of the upgrade for the Shuganu to Elite and also makes it much faster. But we can see what's happening here. Elite Palace Guard upgrade is coming in. A lot of barracks have been dropped, and this is going to be B going for the jugular. He's going to be going for the throat. He's going to be trying to finish this game within the next 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm. You can feel like it was almost like the writings on the wall. If he does slip up, BC has a chance, but it does feel like it's that stage, right? B, it's almost on autopilot mode. His goal, his requirements are simple now, but Beasty is looking to pounce before everything comes online. But these Chuganu are just too much of a bloody nuisance.
Just Jugunu, there's a couple of crossbows in as well. We can see the Jugunu, they don't really do a lot of damage to these men-at-arms, but every now and then they get chunked by the crossbows, and yeah,
the Beast
gets some good shots on there. But the longbows, they're actually doing a good job at cleaning up the infantry here from B.
Yeah, but like there's only 2 men-at-arms to flank around. The Nesta Bees get one flurry out. That could be the end of the main army. They take the small clump at the forward. Lombos are going to stay alive for the time being. The line formation comes out from Beasty, but it's that choke point through the wall gap that could cost him dearly.
Maybe he's already re-walled that, but yeah, I mean, even with the Nest of B, it looks like Beasty is still taking a somewhat good trade. However, Elite has come in for these Palace Guards, and I mean, Beasty's doing the right thing, focusing the range units first, but still, the unit count is going down really, really fast here now. Nest of B still managed to dish out a lot of damage. And
he's getting the bloody Imperial Palace as well? Oh, good
yeah,
God.
it's going to be you and Dynasty.
Yeah.
You and Dynasty Palace Guards. These boys are going to be speeding.
Now, you know too well, Crackedy. There's one thing we have to check. We can see it's not here. Can you please point me to where Beasty's stone walls are? There are none.
They might be well on their way, but even if they're on their way, they're going to be too late because now UN Dynasty has come in and Beasty, he sees the Palace Guards coming in from the other side and he knows that you can't stop China at this point in the game. Man, I gotta say, this was so well played by B. That was so unorthodox, the opening, but then still finding that transition into that second TC, holding on for dear life, being able to buy this time, mass the units that he needed to mass, and then getting an amazing surround in on the army from Beasty. And man, that was just insanely well played here by B.
Yeah, and the reason I bring up those stone walls is you'll know full well, right? The only way you stop Yuan, Palace Guard, two-legged cavalry as I like to call them, stone walls on every angle. If you don't have that, that's why B called GG. I reckon he looked at saw the pass guard, clicked on one of them, is like, that's it. There's no way back. And to your point in the early game, I think you have to give so much credit to B, not just the unconventional opening, not just the way he held, but how he held. It takes quite a lot of discipline to hold off on the way he had to engage with these lombos, the lean into the outpost, and the way he chose to pick away at reinforcements and wait for that premium point on the Juganu count where he could envelop the vanguard of the English. That moment was critical, and you could see that B was anticipating and building towards it for several minutes while constantly under fire.